You are listening to the Nightline Sports Network, brought to you by Travis Dever and the Dever team, 386-690-1636.
Welcome to the AAC Report, only on the Nightline Sports Network. I'm Jeff Allen. Thank you so much for listening. Coming up, we'll talk to Kelly Hines of the Tulsa World as we talk about the Golden Hurricanes' wild, dramatic win over Tulane last week, as well as what their chances are in making the AAC Championship game. Kelly's standing by in the virtual green room and will join us in just a little bit. As we said, the week did start off in exciting fashion. Tulsa once again rallied from a double-digit deficit to remain unbeaten in conference play. A wild 30-24 victory against the Tulane Green Wave in double overtime, with starter Zach Smith and backup Seth Boomer knocked out of the game with injuries. Third stringer Davis Brin gave the Golden Hurricane the spark its offense needed as he put Tulsa on the board with an 18-yard touchdown run. He passed for 266 yards and 2 touchdowns after ending the game on the last series of the third quarter. His second TD was a thing of dramatic proportions, a 37-yard Hail Mary to wide receiver Juan Carlos Santana on the last play of regulation to force overtime. Then linebacker Zaven Collins, there's that guy again. He delivers the victory with a pick six in the second overtime. Golden Hurricane head coach Philip Montgomery.
Words really can't explain that one, right? Again, I'm just so proud of our young men. Words can't really explain it, but the one thing I can explain is that is just a special group of guys down there. And it took every one of them, took all three phases. Tulane is a really good football team, came in here on a roll with 3 wins. I think Willie does an outstanding job there. So take no credit off of that part of it. Don't know that we played our best ball tonight, but we found a way to win, and that's the best way that I can explain it. And those guys down there in that locker room, they believe in each other. They're going to fight for 60 minutes, every second of it, and it took every second of it tonight. And just couldn't be more proud.
Tulsa improves to 5-1 and remains a perfect 5-0 in conference. And again, Kelly Hines joins us to talk about that momentarily. Cincinnati, one of 4 teams nationally that is undefeated after at least 8 games, after the Bearcats improved to 8-0, 6-0 in the American with a 36-33 victory over UCF. Cincinnati trailed 25-22 in the fourth quarter. Quarterback Desmond Ridder then delivered a touchdown run and a touchdown pass in the final 15 minutes as part of his 4-touchdown day, and effectively ended the night's hopes for a late score, engineering a 10-play, 57-yard drive that ended on the 1-yard line with 1 second left. Ridder accounted for 395 yards of total offense as he threw for a season-high 338 yards and 2 touchdowns, adding 57 rushing yards with 2 touchdowns on the ground. He's accounted for 22 touchdowns, 10 passing, 11 rushing in Cincinnati's last 5 games, and has accounted for at least 4 touchdowns in each of the last 4 contests. Bearcats head coach Luke Fickell says his team...
No, I think we just made a statement. I don't know if you need anything more than that. Wow, what a hard-fought game. That is a really good football team that on senior night gave us everything we could handle, but couldn't be more proud of how our guys. We hadn't had that adversity all year, really, with being down, whether it was in the first quarter or being down in the fourth quarter, and our ability for that leadership to just stay positive and never really falter and keep picking people up around them is really, really impressive. And this is going to be a really difficult team to beat just because of the fact that when one's down, someone else can pick them up. And we saw that tonight, back and forth with a really, really hard-fought road victory.
East Carolina went on the road to get a 28-3 victory against Temple Saturday in Philadelphia. Wide receiver Tyler Snead finished with 244 all-purpose yards and a pair of long touchdowns. He had 3 receptions for 75 yards and a touchdown, and he had 111 yards on kickoff returns, including a 95-yard touchdown and 58 yards on 5 punt returns. Head coach Mike Houston.
Well, 2020 is, it keeps on sending us plenty of curveballs. So, what a great job today to be able to get a win on the road, against a team that, we have not beaten in conference play in the past. The kids, were very hard in practice this week. We had some adversity with some guys out. I had a couple of guys making their first college start on the offensive line. Walt Stribling, true freshman, in his first college start. And just really thought the kids, practiced very hard this week. We were not perfect today, but the kids, they fought. They did a great job of the game plan. And it's just exciting to get back on the winning side.
Memphis improves to 5-2 as the Tigers roll to a 56-14 win against Stephen F. Austin at Liberty Bowl Memorial Stadium. Memphis outscored the Lumberjacks 36-0 in the second half as Brady White threw for 269 yards and his school record 82nd career touchdown. Wide receiver Calvin Austin III had 10 catches for 173, setting a school record with his fifth straight 100-yard game. Houston SMU and Navy in South Florida, those games were both COVID postponements. So in the standings, things look like this. Cincinnati and Tulsa both undefeated in conference play. The Bearcats at 6-0, Tulsa at 5-0. SMU is 4-2 in the league, but would lose both tiebreakers to Cincinnati and Tulsa. Memphis, Houston, and Navy rounding out at 3-2. And the college football playoff poll is finally out. And for the first time, Cincinnati comes in at number 7. That's the highest a G5 team has been ranked in the first CFP poll. Tulsa comes in at number 25. In the other rankings, the Bearcats also 7th in the AP and coaches poll. Tulsa's 24 in the AP and 25 in the coaches poll. So again, in the college football playoff poll, the first one being released as we record this on Tuesday evening, Cincinnati at number 7, Tulsa at number 25. And speaking of Tulsa, coming up next, we'll talk about that wild win they had over Tulane and what's ahead for the Golden Hurricane in the race for the AAC Championship game with Kelly Hines of the Tulsa World. That conversation and a look at the week's games coming up next on the AAC Report.
Hey, this is Travis Dever, Kai's Real Estate, the Dever team, New Smyrna Beach. Your source for real estate and everything else, New Smyrna Beach. Proud sponsor of Nightline. Call me anytime at 386-690-1636. That's 386-690-1636. Let me show you my hometown, New Smyrna Beach, UCF's favorite beach. Go Knights and charge on.
An auto accident can change your life forever. At Chad Barr Law, we are raising the bar on what to expect from your personal injury attorney. Hi, I'm Chad Barr, and I want you to know that our entire team is dedicated to providing you with the representation you deserve in your greatest time of need. If you or a loved one have been injured in an auto accident, call 407-599-9036 for a free consultation or visit chadbarlaw.com. At Chad Barr Law, our clients come to us in need and leave as family. Offices, Altamont Springs.
And it is our pleasure to welcome back to the show from the Tulsa World, Kelly Hines. She covers the Tulsa Golden Hurricane, and they are quite a bit in the news this week. Kelly, thanks for being back on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
All right, so let's go first things first. We just got news just a little bit ago that the upcoming game with Houston has now been postponed due to COVID issues going on with the Cougars program. Tulsa and Houston would probably be the two programs who have been affected the most by scheduling in college football this season, it seems.
Yeah, so I guess not really a huge surprise. Definitely knew going into today that if Houston didn't get cleared to resume practice from their COVID situation that, has been ongoing for more than a week now, it seemed pretty clear that the game wasn't going to be able to be played. So, certainly disappointing from Tulsa's perspective because they're, on quite a roll right now. And would like to be playing games, but it's their seventh COVID disruption of the season, so I think they're handling things pretty well because nothing is a surprise anymore.
Yeah, that's for sure. 7 times, that is almost an unfathomable number. We knew there would be some disruptions, but Tulsa has certainly taken quite the brunt of that, that's for sure. So they're coming off a dramatic win against Tulane last week in double overtime. A game where both quarterbacks, their starter and backup, get knocked out. They go down to the third string, and they get a miraculous finish with Davis Brin throwing the Hail Mary to force the overtime. And that man again, Zaven Collins, delivering the victory with a pick 6. Is that about the most dramatic game you've seen covering Tulsa football?
Oh man, it's hard to really think of anything being more dramatic as that. That Hail Mary, I don't know that I've seen a game, a play like that in a game other than like what you see in a movie. That's just so improbable. And to see it play out that way. I mean, there were so many moments like that where you're like, oh, there's just no way. I mean, it was pretty shocking to be like covering that game on deadline and not really being able to process all of it because you're having to work. It just it wasn't until like I got home, it was 1:00 in the morning, that I was like, oh my gosh, like that was so crazy. But that's just kind of how this season has been. It's all of the drama of the the schedule disruptions and all the crazy ways that Tulsa's won games, 4 times coming back from double digit deficits and winning. I mean, that's just a crazy year. So I'm honestly running out of words to try to describe it.
Yeah, it is interesting too. You would think, Tulane, is certainly a worthy opponent. They were neck and neck with SMU in their game. So I mean, this is not like they were locked down in a battle with a team that they were was the bottom of the league. They had to fight and scratch and claw, especially with the injuries taking place. Just remarkable how that turned out.
Yeah, I thought Tulane was, for much of that game was the better team. I mean, that's a legitimate team in the American, that just speaks to, the depth that this league has, that, a team that now is in the bottom half of the standings. I really think that they're capable of beating anyone in the league, and there are quite a few teams like that. So it really wasn't a surprise when they jumped out, to a decent lead. It just, I thought it was going to take some time for Tulsa to get going. And then I thought, well, they may never get going. First string quarterback goes down, second string quarterback goes down. I mean, I just, I honestly felt a little bit bad for Tulane because they were the victim of Tulsa's magic. Obviously they had to have a lot of things go right to even be in those situations. But Tulane, I was pretty impressed with how they played, certainly in the first half.
Well, it speaks to what kind of heart this football team has. And, when you get to Davis Brin, who's been waiting for a chance, and boy, he capitalized on that in spades.
Yeah. And Philip Montgomery describes it now as, Davis wasn't technically the third string guy. He was, kind of even with Seth Boomer as the number 2 guy. I'm like, well, you still put him out there third after the other 2. So, to all of us, he was the third string guy. But, he's a guy who, just really hadn't gotten his chance yet. But you felt like he probably would get his chance next season. Certainly a guy who had a really incredible high school career, just ridiculous numbers that he put up. And, I was really not that surprised with his passing ability, having seen him in practice, but that 18-yard touchdown, in the fourth quarter, that surprised me probably the most out of everything that Davis did because I didn't know that he would be able to have a play like that, in a crucial moment of a game, for him to, rush for 18 yards and score a touchdown. I did not see that coming, but, I do think that he has an arm, and if he, who knows what the rest of the season's going to look like, or next year, or, even beyond that. But I think that he's a guy who will have more chances in his career, and I think he has a chance to be a really good quarterback for Tulsa. I just didn't expect it to be at any point this year.
So with the Houston game that was impending but now has been postponed, would Davis Brin have started, or was Zach Smith in line to come back? Where did that stand at the quarterback position?
I kind of felt like it was probably going to be Davis, but, they were describing Zach as being day-to-day with a torso injury, which, we believe that to be a rib injury, which can be, very painful and difficult to kind of predict, how long that's going to linger. So, it's hard to say which one it would have been, but I think that they felt, after seeing what Davis did last week, I think they felt pretty confident, that he could go out and do that again. I think especially when you consider that a lot of Houston's missing personnel would have been on the defensive side. I think that certainly would have played a role in what Tulsa would have been able to do.
In some ways, the postponement may be a blessing in disguise. I mean, it does give Smith a more chance to recover, and at the same time, if it's going to be Davis Brin, he gets more time to prepare.
Yeah, I think that Tulsa's just kind of like, we're going to make the most out of whatever the situation is going to be. They've been doing that all season, so I know that they were gearing up to play 3 crucial games in 3 weeks, possibly 4, if Tulsa made it to the conference championship game. So these are difficult opponents to play, in back-to-back weeks, Houston and Navy and Cincinnati. So, it does give a little bit more time to, get healthy, get back on track. They'd had a week previously to prepare for Navy, so I don't know if they need to specifically prepare for that game, but just some time to regroup. They'd played last Thursday, but before that they played on Saturday night, so that was a really difficult turnaround. So I think that they're probably glad that the postponement happened early in the week, because it tends to happen to Tulsa on Wednesday or Thursday before the game, so they got a little bit more notice before they got too deep in the week. So, I think it's probably a good time to have a bit of a break.
And, they are definitely, in control of their destiny as far as trying to get to the AAC championship game, as they are continued to be unbeaten in conference. And it could be a possibility where they end up playing Cincinnati 2 weeks in a row, one to end the season and then immediately in the AAC championship game. I know Philip Montgomery probably wants to take them one at a time, but you look at how things lay out, this could be very interesting how it finishes up.
Yeah, and, if you look at it from Cincinnati's perspective, being 7th in the college football playoff rankings, and Tulsa being 25th, they're thinking, man, if we can beat a team like Tulsa 2 weeks in a row, that's going to be really good for our resume. I'm sure that's what they're thinking. So, Tulsa is, not really interested in hearing that. So they're going to want to, make a case for themselves to make it to the conference championship game. They don't have a lot of work left to do that. If this Houston game doesn't, get made up, which at this point, that's going to be difficult to do. So, that makes that game at Navy next week such a big game for Tulsa, to be, to have had struggles the last 3 seasons and finish in the bottom of the league, and to have the turnaround that they're having, they're not used to having the big games like that. So that game at Navy, if they win that, to be able to maybe not stress as much about that first Cincinnati game. You just don't know how things are going to go. But, I do think that the scene has been set for the possibility to play Cincinnati 2 games in a row. And that'd be a difficult team to beat once. So, it's hard to say how things will play out. But with Tulsa, I should know by now, we can't count them out.
Yeah, and certainly, while it would be a tall order, you certainly want the opportunity. That is for sure. Well, you said you've run out of words for how to describe Tulsa's season. I would also imagine you probably have run out of words in describing the season Zaven Collins is having and what he's doing.
Yeah, I have. I'm going to have to come up with some words to describe it, because I have a story that's running on him this weekend that is several thousand words long. So I haven't finished that yet, so I still have a ways to go. But, I would just think that that's an incredible story. His background and, being raised by a single mom, not being recruited, getting an offer from Tulsa late in the game and snatching that up and just coming in super motivated, and now being, a candidate for some national awards. And, there's even, mention of a dark horse Heisman candidate. I think it's a little bit far-fetched, but you never know at this point. I mean, if you look at his stats through 6 games and imagine through a full season, he has 4 interceptions, 2 pick sixes, quite a few TFLs. I mean, he would have really impressive numbers if this were a normal season. Nothing about this season is normal, though. But, what he's been able to do at the linebacker spot, a position that he didn't play in high school, really just all of it adds up to just being a really cool deal to see him, perform at this level this season. Just getting to know his family a little bit, how much it means to them. It just, that's probably my favorite thing about, this job is when you're around a program enough and you get to know the people involved and how much it means to them, that's what makes it pretty cool.
Yeah, and and I wouldn't rule things out for him in the Heisman in 2020 just because the way this year has gone. You never know. But that said, they said on the game broadcast that he played some quarterback in high school. Is he the emergency quarterback for the Golden Hurricane?
There's been a lot of joking about that. Who's next to the depth chart, but because it's Philip Montgomery, they have 6 quarterbacks on the roster, and Zaven Collins is not one of those. But Zaven, that was his primary position in high school. Starting his sophomore year, he was a 6'2", 175-pound quarterback, and you know how it is with small town teams. The best athlete is the quarterback, and he won a state title his senior year as a quarterback. He also played safety on defense, but it would not surprise me at some point to see a play for Zaven on offense this year. That would not surprise me at all. That would be very, very much a Philip Montgomery thing to do.
And he'd probably score a touchdown too.
Probably, yeah.
Just to put the cherry on top of that. Well, as we go towards the end of the season, as you mentioned, we get the college football playoff rankings. Cincinnati comes in number 7. This is the highest a G5 team has come in the college football playoff poll, and that just is really elevating this conference.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I think regardless of how Tulsa plays into all of that, I think it's great for the league. I still think that there's work left to do to get the conference to be, respected enough to be a little bit higher. It's like what else needs to be done. But, I think that having a team that's in the conversation, like UCF was a few years ago, I think that that's great for the league. I think it's only going to improve. I think that this league has shown there still needs to be more non-conference wins, and in a season like this, there weren't as many opportunities for that. But I think that this league is getting more respect, and that's very much deserved because, there's not a drop off in coaching. There's not a drop off in talent. I think that what Cincinnati is doing, and however far they go with that shows that this is a league that has teams that are really fun to watch and really talented.
And as you mentioned, that game last week was with the double overtime was probably making you nervous towards deadline. For people who, obviously, you can put your workout online at any time, but the newspaper prints and the deadline is a lot earlier than most people probably would imagine. So, describe that tension you may have had trying to get finished up for making the print edition of the newspaper.
Yeah, I think every time I'm on a deadline, a really tight deadline, like that, with a game that comes down to literally the last play, it probably takes at least a year off my life. So, it's just a sacrifice that I'm making. But seriously, though, it's fun. I enjoy the adrenaline rush. I enjoy the challenge of it. That's part of the reason I like my job is, it's not easy to, watch a game unfold the way that one did. And know that, I needed to send a story in, about 700 words or so immediately after the game was over. There wasn't any real cushion. It was this story has to just, be on its way to my editors, as soon as the game ended. So, that was fun. That was exciting. So, I rewrote that story multiple times as that game went on, just because, there were so many moments when, I thought this is where their magic runs out. This is it. And, for that game to play out the way it did, it's fun to write about games like that because it's just, you could write a lot of words. I probably wrote too many, but it's fun to be able to, be part of something like that.
Now, does the paper print locally? I mean, I know some newspapers print out of market, so I mean that would have been even tougher. You would not have made your deadline probably.
Yeah. Fortunately, our paper prints in town. We do print several others in the region, so that buys us some time. But a lot of late games this season. A lot of Tulsa's played mostly night games. It seems like all of the games that have been postponed or canceled were the ones that would have, like Saturday, that was going to be an 11 a.m. game. And of course, that's one that gets taken off. The same thing with Navy. That was supposed to be an 11 a.m. game. So they've just had a lot of night games and a lot of, dramatic finishes. And it's been, interesting. I'm sure my editors have been stressing about, whether my story was going to be in on time. But, I think I've made it close enough. So it's worked out all right.
Well, that's definitely good stuff. And, we'll probably be talking again very soon as we wind down towards the end of the season and Tulsa's impact in the AAC. And I also have to give you props for marketing skill because after the dramatics on SMU, you put out on Twitter not only a copy of the newspaper, but a little young kitten named Benny to help sell. You always use an animal in commercials. It always works.
Oh, yeah. That's good marketing right there. Yeah, Benny is still up for adoption. So sadly, nobody has, decided that they need him. So he's still available.
Well, if I was in Tulsa, I would take him. But definitely good stuff there. And again, Kelly, let the folks know how to follow your work for the Tulsa World.
TulsaWorld.com is a great place to start. Also on Twitter, Kelly Hines TW.
Excellent stuff. And we will be talking again soon. And we do wish you and yours a very, very happy Thanksgiving.
Okay. Thank you so much.
And for our listeners in and around the Tulsa market, please adopt Benny. Go to Kelly's Twitter feed, look it back from about a week ago, from this past weekend, I should say, and take a look at Benny. He's a cute one. Get him adopted. So Tulsa was scheduled to play Houston at noon on ESPNU, but that game is not going to happen on Saturday as there's continued COVID issues with the Cougars program. So that game could be played on December 19th, but if Tulsa's in the AAC championship game, the game will not be made up. The rest of the schedule, Friday, it's the annual Black Friday showdown between UCF and USF, 3:30 on ESPN. The Bulls lead the all-time series 6-5. UCF was victorious last season by a 34-7 count. SMU at East Carolina, that's going to be a noon kickoff on ESPN+. The all-time series tied at 4 games apiece. You might recall last year's game was a barn burner. SMU winning 59-51. Cincinnati on the road to face Temple, 4 o'clock on ESPNU. Temple leads the all-time series 13-8 with 1 tie. The Bearcats were victorious last season 15-13 in somewhat controversial fashion. Memphis at Navy, 7 o'clock. And again, that schedule is to be announced as far as the network is concerned. Navy leads the all-time series 3-2. The last meeting a year ago, Memphis won 35-23. We're back to talk about the conference players of the week and more news and notes, including the start of college hoops. That's coming up next when the AAC Report continues in just a moment.
Hello, Night Nation. This is Andrew Fagley reminding you to tune in every Tuesday night, 9 to 10 p.m. on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, plus the WDBO app for Nightline at Night. Brought to you by Chad Bar Law. We'll be taking your calls and your texts reacting to the previous week's UCF sports action, and you never know who will show up. Once again, that's Nightline at Night, every Tuesday, 9 to 10 p.m. on WDBO 107.3 FM and AM 580, plus the WDBO app. Go Knights and charge on.
Welcome. This is a promo for the Take a Left at Albuquerque podcast, new to the Nightline Sports Network. You should listen to it. I say things like this. We need to stop blaming Jerry because we would do the exact same thing if we owned the Dallas freaking Cowboys. Do you know how much fun it is to own the Dallas Cowboys? My guests will say things sometimes like this.
It's the Lord of the Flies thing that happens when they don't understand that things are wrong, spoiler alert, until Piggy dies.
Lord of the Flies has been out for like 100 years. I don't even know.
Yeah. Sorry to everyone at home who I spoiled the book for. A book's been out for like 90 years or something.
And sometimes, rarely though, I'll say really stupid things like this. If they don't make it out of the West and the Raptors get to the finals, I will go on either this show or whoever's show and say that Kawhi Leonard is overrated because I have too much evidence of it. New episodes drop every Friday with me and some of my good friends right here on the Nightline Sports Network.
All right, the players of the week. Well, no surprise here. Desmond Ridder of Cincinnati is the offensive player of the week. As we mentioned, 4 touchdowns, 395 yards of total offense as the Bearcats remain unbeaten and make their drive towards possibly a New Year's Six Bowl and an outside chance of getting into the college football playoff. Ridder, 21 of 32 for a season-high 338, 2 touchdowns, 57 yards rushing with 2 TDs as well. But he has a co-player of the week, and it was the aforementioned Davis Brent of Tulsa. The third quarterback on the depth chart comes in and saves the day. 18 of 28 for 266 and 2 touchdowns, including the Hail Mary that tied the game at the end of regulation. Also had an 18-yard rushing touchdown in that double overtime victory for Tulsa. And the man who clinched it, Zaven Collins, is the defensive player of the week yet again. Also chosen as the Walter Camp National Defensive Player of the Week with the big 96-yard interception return for a touchdown to win the game for Tulsa in the second overtime. He had a game-high 15 tackles. The special teams player of the week is Tyler Snead of East Carolina. 169 yards on special teams. He had 244 all-purpose yards in their victory over Temple. 95-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. 111 yards on kickoff returns, all told. 58 on 5 punt returns. 3 catches for 75 and a touchdown. The 2020 American Athletic Conference Football Championship will be televised nationally in primetime on ABC. It'll be the 6th straight season in which the American Football Championship game has been televised on ABC. And this year's game will cap off a conference championship triple header on the network. The American will kick off at 8 o'clock. That follows the Big 12 Championship at noon and the ACC Championship at 4 o'clock. And it will be played at the home stadium of the team with the highest winning percentage in conference games. And turning to hoops, the American opens the 2020-2021 season with a 4-game slate on Wednesday. South Florida kicks off the season hosting Florida College, 11:30 a.m. on ESPN+. Memphis takes on St. Mary's on ESPN2 at 2. And that will be in the first round of the Bad Boy Mowers Crossover Classic in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Houston, selected as the preseason favorite to win the AAC men's basketball title in voting by the league's head coaches, will host Lamar at 3 o'clock on ESPN+, all times Eastern. And in the evening, SMU hosts Sam Houston at 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN+. Some other notable games coming up on the weekend. Saturday, Oklahoma will be hosted by UCF, ESPN+ at 2 p.m. Temple at Virginia Tech on ESPN News at 8 p.m. Sunday, Houston, who's ranked 17th, taking on 14th ranked Texas Tech on ESPN2. That's a 5:30 tip on Sunday. And Monday, UCF hosting another big conference team as Auburn comes into town. And again, that's a 7 o'clock Monday, November the 30th. And again, all times are Eastern. In women's hoops, 6 different American teams are in action beginning Wednesday in non-conference play. And 9 of the conference's 11 teams are expected to kick off the season by the end of play on November the 29th. Hope you're looking forward to a big football weekend. And as we gave you the schedule, always subject to change, as we, of course, had the Tulsa-Houston game get knocked off the schedule. As always, please follow me on Twitter at JeffAllen_88 and follow the Nightline Sports Network at UCF_Nightline. This has been the AAC Report, only on the Nightline Sports Network. I'm Jeff Allen. Have yourselves a happy Thanksgiving and stay safe.